Hello everyone, Tony here bringing you my Dark Magician deck profile video. First and foremost, if I didn't mention this person, I'd kind of be insulting them because they brought me onto this deck kinda, so huge shout out to my friend Jeremiah. He's been playing Dark Magician forever, and now that they have good support, he is more ecstatic than anybody that I know playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now. The deck is super fun, really control based, so that's always a good thing. You can put out some amazing monsters with some strong effects and just flat out overpower your opponent. So we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna explain the importance of each card as best as I can, and let's just get on with it. Right. So first and foremost, the Dark Magician. You have to play 3 of this card for this deck. It is the star of the deck. So this is the best art for the Dark Magician, despite what Jeremiah says. Hashtag Jeremiah is wrong. So you play 3 of this card. One copy of Dark Magician Girl. I do know she tends to be a little bit on the brick side of the game, but with the addition of Magician Souls, she is less bricky. You could also discard her for a Princess Illusion Magician or Keeper of Dragon Magic, so she's not horrible. She does feel useless in your hand though, but she is not as big of a brick as she used to be, which is, a good thing. 3 copies of Magician Rod. Let me fix the focus. 3 copies of Magician's Rod. This card is the searcher for every card that is a spell or trap for Dark Magician. Toolbox cards are important, and Dark Magician has some very strong magic and traps at its disposal, so this just makes sure that you get the ones you want to see. The most important normal summon of the deck, and a perfect support card for Dark Magician. 3 Princess Illusion Magicians. I do see some people play this at 1 or 2, and then others at 3. I'm on the side that play her at 3. I feel like what she offers to the deck is super important, and just being able to combo into certain link monsters or power up a spellcaster that might be fighting something that's a bit too big, she will be a difference maker in some combat or in some combos. So don't sleep on this. If she searches Dark Magician, she's a really good card overall. I feel like a 3 of 3 Magician Souls. So this card, you can use Fusion Deployment as a pseudo replacement. He's a good combo piece. He gives you a way to put Dark Magician Girl in the graveyard for Soul Servant or Keeper of Dragon Magic if you ever want to go that route. Good way to get rid of some extra spells and trap cards to get some cards out of it. It's a really strong pseudo card, but I will say that this card is not a must-have in this deck. Like, if you can get it and play it, great. Do not break your bank playing this card. Like, I'm not going to oversell you on anything because I see a lot of people do that when they do this Dark Magician profile video. I'm not going to understate, like, the usefulness of this card because his combo potential is amazing, but do not think your deck needs to be made or break. Well, it's not a make or break with that card, right? Like, if you play Dark Magician, perfectly doable without that card. And my last monster is 2 Keeper of Dragon Magic. I felt like 3 was too much. I want to see the card, but I don't have to see the card. So 2 is good enough. He provides a good combo setup where if you have a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl in your hand, preferably Dark Magician, you can normal summon him, discard the Dark Magician, search for Polymerization, use his effect to special summon the Dark Magician face down, and just poly, and now you have a Dragoon or Dark Magician Dragonite, depending on your hand. Most of the time, you'll probably go Dragoon, but Dragonite can lead to some fun setups with Eternal Soul if you do have it. For the spell cards, hold on, I need to flip this real quick. You play 3 Magician Circles. Well, Dark Magical Circles, excuse me. This is a weird Pot of Avarice, but you really just use it for the control aspect of it. Whenever you summon a Dark Magician, you banish a card on your opponent's side of the field. While that card effect can only be activated once per turn, you could also use it on your opponent's turn. So in combo with Eternal Soul, you can just continuously bounce cards off your opponent's board, banish it, and now your opponent is playing from behind for most of the time because you're constantly zapping resources from them. Dark Magician tends to become a more control-heavy deck when you spam this card, so don't be afraid to abuse it. It's really strong. 3 Soul Servants. So the first effect, being able to manipulate your deck, is always a great thing. And you being able to take a card from your graveyard or your deck and place it to the top of your deck is a strong skill. You can use it during your opponent's end phase to force a draw. You could also use it to recycle something you burned earlier. The second effect, to draw a card for every Dark Magician Girl, or Palladium monster is really, really strong too. In this case, I don't play any of the Palladium monsters, but it is doable. You can find yourself drawing 4 to 5 cards per turn if you do have the Dark Magicians. So you have to play 3. I play 2 Secrets of Dark Magic. So this was absolutely my favorite Dark Magician support card that has come out. It's a quick play spell that lets you fuse into a fusion monster, provided you use the Dark Magician for material. Now keep in mind, it does not have to be a Dark Magician fusion. You can go into Star Venom Dragon. You can go into there's a Predaplant fusion that if you use a fusion plus a dark monster, you can bring it out, and I play it in the extra deck. It's really, really good. You could also play it with a single copy of the Ritual monster as a tech, and you can bring Magician of Chaos out. Being able to fuse during your battle phase is important. Being able to fuse during your opponent's turn is important. So this card is a good adjustable card. If I had the space, I would play this at 3. I see a lot of people play this at 1, but I think it's worth at least 2 slots in your deck. I play one Eye of Timaeus. This is a good way to get Dark Magician off the board, because a problem you may run into in this deck is getting Dark Magician off your field, so that way you can abuse it with Eternal Soul. This is one way to get it off, and you get a strong fusion in return. It's also a good combo piece with Magician Souls. You can send a Dark Magician to the graveyard, or a Dark Magician Girl, use Magician Souls effect to bring it back, and then just Eye of Timaeus it. Now you have a strong fusion on your field, so it's a good one. Dark Magic Attack with Eternal Soul. This card is searchable. Harpy's Feather Duster is strong, so why wouldn't I use this? That's pretty much it. Back row is starting to see more and more play, so getting rid of it is important now. One Magicalized Fusion. This card is one of these searchable cards for Keeper of Dragon Magic. It also lets you combo pretty well into it too, because if you have this or Poly in hand, and you do the Keeper of Dragon magic play I mentioned before, where you can get a Dragoon out, you can get the other monster or a second Dragoon out with this, right? So you would do the Keeper of Dragon magic, bring back Dark Magician, Poly, bring out the Dragoon, then you can Magicalize Fusion it, bring out a second Dragoon. Now your opponent has to deal with 2 headaches. Polymerization. This is just to fuse, searchable with the Keeper Dragon Magic, and this is the better art for anybody that has anything else to say. You can fight this guy. One Secret Village of the Spellcasters, because if you get this on the board with Dragoon, your opponent will probably quit. Not being able to play spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today is terrible, and just being able to just say no without having to discard a card is just insane. And of course, as with all my decks, I play one Psychic Eraser Laser. Just sending an opponent's monster from the extra deck to the graveyard as a cost is strong. They can't negate this card. They could negate this card, but the monster will already be in the graveyard, so the only thing they can negate is the life point gain. So they want to do that, more power to them. Now we move on to the traps. So we're playing 3 Eternal Soul. This is the most important trap card for Dark Magician. It protects him from all enemy card effects. It brings him back from the graveyard, and it helps you search for Dark Magic Attack. So this is one of the trap cards that you have to see for the deck. You play 3. You could argue that you could play 2 and get away with it because of Magician's Rod, but I think you have to see this card. 3 is optimal. And then for the last Dark Magician support card, we play one Magician Navigation. So you're probably never going to set this card. This is really just fodder for Magician Souls to draw a card, or Apprentice Illusion Magician to search for Dark Magician. The reason for that is that you want the graveyard effect. So while you control the Dark Magician, you can banish this card from your graveyard when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, negate and destroy the card. So it's really just there for spell or trap negation. The other trap cards now are 3 infinite impermanence. Being able to turn off an opponent's column isn't broken. If your opponent goes first, being able to effect Veiler them essentially is broken. So it's a really good card. And if you use the Dark Magicians and get their effect and draw this card, you could just set it and then, you know, have something to react to an opponent's play that turn. So overall, it's just a really sound and solid card. 2 Solemn Strikes because controlling your opponent is fun. So you can negate monster effects with this. You can negate special summons. So if your opponent brings out something that you don't want to particularly deal with, or maybe you haven't set up your board, this is a good way to like slow them down. And then the last 2 cards are 2 Ice Dragon's Prison. This is a good way to deal with enemy Dragoons if they've already burned their negation effect. This is just a good control card altogether. It interrupts combos. You can play it against like Cyber Stacks, Dragon Link, or whatever. Like, you know, even mirror matches where your opponent's playing Dark Magician. You can get rid of 2 of their Dark Magicians maybe with this card effect, right? So overall, this is a really, really sound card. You could play 3 of this and probably drop a Solemn Strike, but I like playing this at 2 with Strike at 2. So I'm just trying to make my deck as oppressive and controlling as possible. Now onto the extra deck. 1 Dark Magician to Dragonite. So you can use this with Eternal Soul and bring them back, and they'll protect each other. So it's like a constant loop. So that's why sometimes, depending on my setup, I'll actually prioritize this over Dragoon. I know it sounds weird, but it's just being able to constantly remove cards from your opponent's field with Dark Magical Circle, having this card protect your back row, and then having Eternal Soul protect this. It's a vicious cycle. It's very annoying. 1 Predaplant, Dragostophelia. So you can see the effect there. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, place 1 Predaplant, Predator counter, excuse me, and if its level is 2 or higher, it becomes level 1. As long as the Predator counter is on it, negate the activated effect. So you can use any Dark Magician fusion or any fusion in your extra deck for that matter, plus Secrets of Dark Magic, and bring this card out, right? So it's also a good way to add control to certain things. In some situations, you're even able to side deck into Super Poly and use your opponent's Dragoon to bring this out. So now you took a monster off their board and have a way to, you know, control some effects on your side. Orndark Cavalry. So this card is, I like this card because of the control and the extra attack power he gains for every spell and trap card on the field and graveyard. However, without Eye to Midas as of right now, I really can't bring this out unless I use my Soldier of Chaos. And Soldier of Chaos would have to die for that. So this is really just a situational card. If I do get the Eye to Midas and I have a bunch of cards, then I might bring this out. Other than that, this is kind of just there. 2 of the Dark Magicians. I know most people only play 1, but with the floating effect and being able to summon multiple copies of this, I feel like 2 is ideal. Whenever you or your opponent activate a spell or trap card or a spell or trap card effect, when the card resolves, you draw a card. If the card is a spell or trap, you can set it. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that because you're drawing the card, you do not need to reveal the card to your opponent if it is a spell or a trap. I'm not telling you to cheat with that because, you know, if you set a monster, like, you know, that's cheating. But this lets you play mind games with your opponent. Even if you draw something like a Polymerization, setting it can change the way your opponent approaches that matchup. So this is a really, really good mind game card, as well as the benefits, because if they die, bring out a Dark Magician Girl, you get extra cards. So it's a really, really sound card to play. It's like one of my favorite fusions right now. 2 Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. At this point, he really doesn't need an explanation. One of the best boss monsters in the game. Can be destroyed by card effects, can be targeted. If you fuse them with Red Eyes fusions and Red Eyes and Blue Eye, Dark Magician, you can pop 2 monsters on the field. I don't play Red Eyes Fusion, Verde Anaconda, or Red Eyes in my deck. And the reason for that is that those cards, I feel, slow the deck down. Now, if you open like Red Eyes Fusion, like the spell card, and you play it and you get Dragoon out and you set 2 cards, great. But the reality is that I would rather focus my turns on getting the most out of it than just like trying to force the Verde Anaconda combo out, and you know, it just feels better without it. Like, it feels like the deck flows, and that's what I'm looking for, right? Like, if you like that combo in the deck, use it. I personally don't. I feel like it works better this way. I did have it in my extra deck at one point. I did have the Red Eyes and Red Eyes Fusion in my deck. I just felt like it was a waste of space, if I'm being honest. But you know, it might fit you better, and that's the most important thing. To play the deck the way that you feel like it would fit you to succeed. Right. So now we're gonna get into the Link monsters. One Link Spider. This is mainly to get Dark Magician off the board so I can keep spamming Eternal Souls. It turns your Link 1s into Link 2s basically because you bring out Dark Magician after you've linked it to this. Now you have a Link 2 target or potential Link 3 target depending on, you know, what the situation is. One Link Kuriboh. This is to get my Magician Souls off the board because sometimes I just kind of be there after I use the draw effect. So, you know, I might as well get some protection out of it. One Relinquished Anima, same reason as Link Kuriboh, but this also lets me steal my opponent's stuff. And despite it being a crime in real life, in Yu-Gi-Oh, stealing is fun. Like, you know, just don't steal people's cards, but, you know, steal their monsters. One Unchained Abomination. This in combo with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you will destroy a lot of your opponent's stuff. So whenever you negate and destroy a card with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, he destroys another card additionally, as well as at the end of the turn destroying an additional card. Then if he kills something in my battle, he destroys a card. So it's like destroy, destroy, destroy. Really, really strong, really, really fun to control and destroy your opponent's stuff. One Selene, Queen of the Master Magician. Yeah, it's a dumb name. Anyway, this is really just a link climb. Most of the time you're only gonna summon her when you're gonna go into Kotalker or Abomination. She doesn't serve a purpose outside of that. Right, and speaking of Kotalker, this is Access Kotalker, a really, really strong monster, one of the only few monsters in the game that can like naturally run over Dragoon, provided Dragoon hasn't negated 3 cards yet. If your opponent does negate a card in the turn and drops pumps themselves to like 4,000 or 5,000, you can go into Kotalker, run them over naturally thanks to Selene because she is a Link 3, and she provides a free Link climb because when she special summon for every spell in both players' graveyards or face up on the both players' fields, she gets a spell counter. So you can remove 3, special summon an effect monster, and then go into Kotalker with just these 2 cards. So she provides a really, really good way to Link climb. One Blacklisted Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Dark Magician is a level 7 monster, so getting his effect to protect himself is really easy. 3,000 attack is great. Being able to remove your opponent's card is great. Gaining 1,500 attack points every time you store a monster is great. And attacking twice is great. So it's really just a really strong and sound utility card and another way to end the game for your opponent. Then the last card is Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So I really just like this card because you can link with your opponent's field. That's really it. Like, she's another way to control your opponent's effects because if your opponent tries to activate a card, special summon a card from your graveyard, she could just say no, and that's pretty much it. She can negate that. She is a Link 5 monster, but she only requires 4 monsters, one of them being your opponent. So you really just need 3 effect monsters, 1 effect monster from your opponent's side of the field, even if it's a fusion. Better if they have a Link because they can be a Link 2 and then your 3 monsters, and now she's out on the board and you took your opponent's strongest monster. So that's the deck there. Overall though, like, building this deck and working on it over the last few months has been an experience. A really good one at that because when I first started playing the game, I was playing Crystal Beast, and I jumped into a Chaos like Link deck. So I was really heavy into like comboing a lot, and this has slowed my gameplay down a little bit, but not to the point where it's like sluggish, more controlling. So that's it for the deck profile. Again, shout out to Jeremiah for not giving up on this deck. Mind you, this is my build. He has his own build. Hopefully I'll be able to bring his version of the deck onto the channel. I'm just waiting for him to finish it. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you guys for watching my previous 3 videos. You know, I know, again, we're a smaller channel, but seeing one video over 100 and another one on its way there, always fun, you know, and I can't wait to keep growing with you guys. So once again, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.